So, it is the 21st of December. I was driving the train to my parents, which is really not so uncommon, because my parents live around 4 hours away from the place where I live, and the only entertainment I had was my laptop. Unfortunately, the internet in the train is pretty bad. Luckily, I was prepared. Before this trip, I had downloaded myself an emulator and a couple of games. My choice fell on playing some CTR and destroying the AI in this beautiful game. And while I was playing this, I remembered something from a couple years prior when I was still in school. The thing is, at this time, everybody in my class was playing on their phone. Nothing really uncommon, but the thing is, they were playing some Pokemon on an emulator. And so I thought to myself, wait, if you can emulate a Game Boy Color, maybe I can emulate a PS1. And so I did. Still, I wasn't able to play any 3D games, but I was able to play some CTR. Unfortunately, the layout of the emulator I used was so bad for driving games that I either could drift or I could accelerate, meaning it was impossible for me to drift, and so I had to complete it without drifting at all. And I did it again, this time for a video. So buckle your seatbelts, we are going on an adventure. And so we are greeted with a wonderful intro cinematic, and so a very strange looking alien is declaring that not if the fastest racer is going to race him in a race, he's going to turn Earth into a concrete parking lot. And so our heroes and villains have to decide who the fastest racer of the world is to face Oxide in a battle of the worlds. Because they are the worlds, and there is definitely not a single other racer on this planet. And so I looked up who would actually face Oxide in this race. And because F1 is the pinnacle of motorsports, this wonderful candidate would be Mika Häkkinen, who won the 1999 Formula 1 championship, because Michael Schumacher broke his leg in an accident. But we all know there are only 15 racers in the whole world. And so I decided to go with Dingodile because everybody is playing Crash normally, and yeah, I wanted to play somebody evil, and I took him. And then I did the most important thing, I named my save. Not that we're going to save anyway, but you know. And so it is called Sub Place. And so you know what to do, or... And so we are thrown into the adventure modus. Well, a strange looking mask is trying to explain us what the hell we're supposed to do. But of course, we ignore that thing. And now I will explain you what we are not allowed to do. So, we're not allowed to drift, meaning we are not allowed to press R1 button to slide. And when the thing in the button is red, we press L1 and get a boost. Easy to learn, but very hard to master. Like a random dude said on the internet. And so we enter our first race, which is the Crash Cove, the easiest track on this grid. And as in every single race, we will be starting as last. But luckily, this track is no challenge for us, and so we become first without any problem. After that, we are greeted with a beautiful trophy ceremony where our boy Dingodile is getting his trophy while surrounded with a bunch of interesting ladies. You know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we are here to... what were we doing again? Ah, yeah, right. Save the world or something. Next up is Race Trip, one of the tracks that we are going to see further into the game again. And again, this race is not very challenging. I thought when I started this challenge that it would be way harder, but I found out it's not. The AI is just extremely bad, and with the help of items, you normally charge ahead very quickly, and you stay there. The only thing that's sometimes changing is how quickly you will get on top. If you get a good item first, then instantly you go into first, and that's not going to change. And I hope that this will maybe change the further we go into this game. Unfortunately, it just never happened. I just continue one and one and one, and just occasionally I failed at a boss. But we'll come to that in just a second. Anyway, I won Roost Troops as expected, and of course the following races were no challenge at all as well. And each world has of course a boss. In this case it was Ripperoo, and he was challenging us to race. The thing with bosses is that you are going to race them at one of the tracks that you previously raced in this hub. In this case it was Roost Troop, well obviously, and the tricky part is that the bosses are a little bit faster than you, and they throw shit at you. In this case a bunch of TNT crates. But luckily, in all the item crates, you can find stuff that slow people down. For example, a bunch of rockets. But in the end, I still won with a decent lead, and with that, I completed the first hub. And so we started the first race of the second hub. And it was indeed Cocos Park, a very boring track where you just go in circles. Like NASCAR, with deadly missiles. But as expected, I came first, without any problem. And so the first race of the second hub was done. The next race was pretty boring. But after that, we have a race where I actually lost. May I introduce you to Papu's Pyramid, a very interesting track with a bunch of corners and card-eating plants. Yes, you heard correctly. These plants are eating cards. Don't ask me why, they're just doing it. And so I failed for the first time. That's right. But I picked up a win just right after that. So it's fine, just treat it like it never happened, okay? It never happened. Okay? And next up was probably the best track in the whole history of CTR. It is Dingo's Canyon, the home race for our boy Dingo. And yeah, as expected, I smashed everybody, and it was not really a challenge because, as always, the AI is dumb as shit. And so I was a step closer of finishing this challenge. And so we are here facing our second boss. It is no other than the mighty Papu.
Papu is world's best driver. Papu moves so fast, you munch drags.
And so we went onto his track and beat his ass, without any problem. And so we are in hub 3, and to be honest, this hub was the boringest out of all of them. We had some snow, some cave, more ice, and a bunch of dirt. They all ended the same, me winning with a huge lead, and boss was no different. This game is way too easy. Maybe I'm just too good. I think I will go with the fact that I'm just too good for this game. Yeah, that's definitely it. And so we were already in the last hub. We had only a couple of races left and 2 bosses to beat. The only difference is that now the tracks are getting longer. Not harder, just longer. And so the results that you probably all expecting came. I had no problem in winning all of that. And with that, we only had 2 more bosses left. The stage boss and Arcside himself. The stage boss, on the other hand, was no problem. But then we came to the final boss, and let's say he was a little bit different. The thing is, he is actually cheating in the start, starting way too early, and he is throwing a bunch of potions. And when you cannot drift, it's very hard to actually dodge them. After I overtook him, it was not really a challenge to stay ahead. And so I actually won. I liberated the planet. Hooray! Still was very disappointing. I hope you still liked, even though while I was editing this, realized that it's probably a pretty boring video because there's actually nothing really interesting happening. But I hope you liked it, and see you for the next video, where I will play a random game in a very different way. See you.